We have a battle of brothers, cousin brothers, but brothers. The dharmic Pandavas, and I won't go into the details of that, but just take my word for it. They are the dharmic Pandavas. And the Kauravas, who are their cousin brothers, led by a blinded by his own ego, blinded by his own greed, blinded by jealousy, Duryodhana, who deprives his cousins of their rightful land. They were supposed to have the whole kingdom. Then he says, I'm not going to give you this, I won't give you this. I mean, it goes on and on. It's a very incredibly divine but long story that I won't go into. At the very end, after the Pandavas doing everything that they were supposed to do, giving everything they were supposed to give, they're still refused that which is rightfully theirs, that which was rightfully theirs from the beginning. And Duryodhana ends by basically saying, I won't give you the amount of land on the tip of a pin. Now these are people who are supposed to, head kingdoms. I won't give you anything. So Krishna, the divine, but who's embodied in form as a king himself, his advice is sought. He tries to convince Duryodhana to do the righteous thing. Duryodhana won't hear of it. They do everything they can do to avoid this fight. Finally, there's no option for dharma, in order to restore dharma to the people of this area, which is basically a huge area where Delhi is now, but extending far out. They have to go to war. So that's where the Bhagavad Gita takes place, is on this battlefield. Now, it begins with Arjuna basically saying, forget it. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to fight because those are my family members. It's my gurus over there. Forget it. Nothing's worth it. Forget it. We won't have any land, okay? No amount of land is worth it. And the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna teaching Arjuna about life. Okay? So one of the teachings, as you've just raised, is he says to Arjuna, stand up and fight. Arjuna says, I don't want to fight. Krishna says you must do your duty, whether they're your family, whether they're your guru. But, before I get into the question, so he's asking, Krishna says this, you must do it. He says, but why bother? Why bother doing good karma or bad karma if we're going to have to reap the fruits of both, and that's just going to keep us coming back? If I'm going to have to keep taking birth to reap the fruits, whether they're sweet or whether they're sour, why bother do anything? Right? This is your question. Yes, exactly. Okay. Yes. Okay. So why bother acting? Either I'm going to get heaven or I'm going to get hell. I'm going to get something good. I'm going to get something bad. Why bother? Okay. Now, first of all, when Krishna says, stand up and do your duty, there's a very important, crucial, and fundamental aspect of this. It's not stand up and do your duty, which is to kill them. Lord Krishna's bottom line message is, really, Arjuna, and exactly who are you to be the taker of life? Where did I go and leave you in charge of who lives and who dies? Because what Arjuna is going through is, in modern day slang, an ego trip. Arjuna is having this. I can't kill them. That's a bad thing to do. And Lord Krishna basically says to him, oh, really? And when did you become the giver of life or death? When did you become the one who determines who lives and who dies? This is all now in your hands, Arjuna? Did you forget who I am? And this is what the Gita is Arjuna. It is not up to you who lives and who dies. You are going to fight this battle because that's your duty, but who lives and who dies, that's me. You're not the one making that decision. You're not the one in whose hands destiny is. I, as God, have not stepped aside and hired you in my place. I'm the doer, you're the tool. Do your duty because that is how you, in this incarnation, have the possibility of attaining moksha, of attaining freedom. Freedom from what? Well, on the basic level, freedom from this cycle of birth and death. But what does that mean? It means freedom from that which chains me. Which, of course, we're able to have while we're alive. I mean, Pujya Swamiji emphasizes over and over again, moksha is not just after death. Moksha is being free of that. That illusion, that ignorance, which binds me to this form, which makes me think I'm the doer. That this hand is the hand of a killer or the hand that's given life. This hand is just flesh and blood. It has no power to give or to take life. And what kind of an ego trip would my hand have to be on to even think that it could give or take life? That's what God does. God's the giver and the taker. We're just the tools. But in this life, in this particular leela, this drama, this act of the show, you're playing the role of Arjuna. It's a costume, it's a mask, it's a role. But the part you've been given is the part of the warrior. And in order to play your part of the warrior, you better pick up your bow and arrow. But do not think you're the director of this show. You haven't written this script, I've written this script. I'm directing this show. You're just wearing the costume, wearing the mask, playing your role. Your only job is to play this role I have given you to the very best of your ability. And to stop wishing you had a different role. Right? At one point Arjuna says, I'm just going to go off to the mountains and meditate. And Krishna's like, not in this life. You are not a sannyasi. I've given you the role of a warrior. Stop wanting to play their part. They're the ones I've given the role of sannyasi and sage and rishi and meditator to. Look down, you're wearing the costume of the warrior. It's because I've given you that role. You do not get to change costumes mid-show. This is the teaching. Stop thinking it's about you. It's not about you. You're a tool in my hand. So the stand up and do your duty is not, go get 'em, Arjuna. Kill the bad guys. It's not that. It's play your role, Arjuna. Stop complaining. Stop wishing you had somebody else's costume or role. Your only possibility to be free is in this role. Play it to the best of your ability, but lastly, how do you get free then? Because as you so rightly said, the karma we do gives us fruit. We do good things, we get sweet fruit. We do bad things, we get bitter fruit. But in any case, we've got to keep coming back to eat the fruit. And if the bottom line teaching is that the highest level of moksha, the highest level of liberation, is not to have to take another body, not to have to come back, well, then what do you do? And this is where Lord Krishna gives it so beautifully. And he says, you can't not do anything. Because this also, Arjun gives the same argument. He says, well, then forget it. This is just going to accrue more karma for me. I don't want it. And again, Krishna says, oh, really? And how exactly do you expect not to accrue any karma? Because not acting is acting. If I'm walking down the street and somebody trips and falls in front of me, I have two choices. I help them or I don't help them. Right? Those are the only options. Do something, don't do anything. If I bend down and help them, you could say that's something good. I've helped somebody. But if I'm worried about not accruing any karma, in a state of illusion, I might say, well, I'm not going to help her because even though it's good and the karma is going to be good and sweet, I don't want to accrue any karma, so I'm just going to walk by. Well, not helping her is also an action. Walking by and not bending down and helping is also an action. And I accrue that karma. So this is where Lord Krishna says, you can't not act. You could sit down, you could sit on your hands, you can close your eyes, close your mouth, but you can't not act. Because sitting down, closing your eyes, and sitting on your hands is not fulfilling your duty, which is an action. Failure to fulfill your duty is an action, which means you're stuck both ways. Fulfill it, you've acted. Don't fulfill it, you've acted. This is where he says, and the answer is only fulfill your duty, but recognize you are not the doer. Recognize all you are is a tool. I am the doer. Get that sense of doership out of your mind. Get that sense of pride out of your mind. Get that sense of separation from me out of your mind. Whatever you do, offer it to me. Right? This is when he says, take my name and fight the war. Remember me, fight the war. What does that mean? Remember me and fight the war. Well, this is the mantra for our lives. Remember me, fight the war. It means connect to God. Whatever name, whatever form, it can be Krishna, it can be any. Remember me, and then fight your war, fight your battle. Whatever your life battle is, whatever your duty is. But by remembering me first, you're offering what you're doing to me, which is you're doing it as a tool in my hands. And that's the only way not to accrue the karma. If you're doing it as you, if you're doing it as the doer, if you think, oh, I'm the one who's doing, I'm the one who has done, either the good stuff or the bad stuff, I was so good, or oh my God, I'm useless. Either way, you get karma. So he says, just surrender it to me. Surrender it all to me. And that's the only way.